Well, thank you very much. I'd like to start by introducing myself. My name is Lee Ayres. I'm CTO of Encapson. I'd also like to thank the organisers for this. I think this is a great opportunity for a company like ours in developing our first own product to connect with distributors around the world and to get our message out there. Today I'd like to talk about our new product, Sono-Sheath biopsy. So, let's assume that worked. Yes, so just a little bit about Encapson. We are a Dutch medical coating company based in Enschede in the east of the Netherlands, and we provide coating services to the medtech industry. We've developed Sono-Coat, which is an echogenic coating which gives unsurpassed ultrasound visibility for needles and catheters. It can be applied to any needle, any catheter to improve its ultrasound visibility. So at the same time, we are starting to, have been developing our own product, Sono-Sheath. It's a range of turnkey echogenic disposables, and these are in late stage development, which should be launched, beginning of next year. What is Sono-Sheath biopsy? Well, it's a totally novel product concept, which is designed to give instant visibility to instant ultrasound visibility to any biopsy needle. What it is a long polymer sheath with a coated echogenic tip and a connector here, and this connector can be used and placed over any biopsy needle. It can be placed over any type of biopsy needle. We have different connector sizes for different gauges and different sheath lengths for different lengths, but it works with semi-automatic, fully automatic, and any biopsy needle that you want. It makes it universally applicable anywhere. It works with any brand, any manufacturer's biopsy needle. So I think most of you know under ultrasound, organs are clearly visible under ultrasound, but often medical devices are not. And to be honest with you, the ultrasound visibility of most biopsy needles is very, very poor. The impact of this is about 20% of liver biopsies result in false negative outcomes. This is where basically they take a tissue sample during the biopsy, but they've actually missed the tumor. So you think that when the pathology is done, you see healthy tissue, but actually because you've taken a biopsy from the wrong area because you couldn't see where the needle was. So this, of course, results in delayed cancer treatment and reduced life expectancy. Also, of course, if you're having trouble seeing the needle, you may have to go in and out multiple times, do multiple passes, leading to tissue damage and bleeding, which is never good for a patient and can result to complications, up to 3-4 hours in the hospital afterwards, where people are having to be held longer than they would like to. And Sono-Sheath, of course, addresses this by giving you the option to add ultrasound visibility to the biopsy needle at the moment that you cannot see it. You can just take Sono-Sheath and place it over it. We did a comparative study with the Radboud University in Nijmegen, where we did liver biopsies in a cadaver. And here you can see the ultrasound images from that. This is Sono-Sheath biopsy, and here you can clearly see the tip of the needle. It's actually 2 centimeter coated length at the top, and you can see it here. And here you can see this is actually a competitive echogenic needle. This is the Argo Medical Supercool, which is considered echogenic, ultrasound visible, but you can see you clearly cannot see it here. A little bit of the technology behind it. I can't resist. As CTO, I have to talk a little bit of science in it. Sono-Coat, how does it work? Sono-Coat is based on acoustically reflected microparticles in the coating matrix. As many of you may know, ultrasound, if the probe and the needle are not perpendicular to each other, the ultrasound signal is actually reflected away from the probe and you cannot see it. So angle of incidence is angle of reflectance. In the coating matrix, we put acoustically reflected microspheres, and these scatter the ultrasound signal. So the signal is returned actually back to the probe, and you get actual visibility. And this is independent of the angle of which between the needle and the probe. So what are the key benefits of Sono-Sheath? Well, unmatched ultrasound visibility. It's one shot, first time right interventions. There's no failed attempts. The clinician is sweating less. The patient is more comfortable, and the whole procedure is safer and more accurate. The clinician doesn't need to change his clinical routine. They can use their favorite biopsy needle because it works with a biopsy needle. It's easy to adopt. There's no complicated user instructions needed. You simply place it over the current biopsy needle and you can do your procedure. It's also cost effective. It's an on-demand concept, so you can use it only when you're really in trouble. You don't have to use it with every needle, although we obviously hope clinicians will, but they can use it when often clinicians can see when the patient comes to the door, okay, this patient's going to have a problem with ultrasound visibility. So they can take the sheath off the shelf and choose to use it during the procedure. So in fact, you're reducing the cost of the more difficult procedures by making them shorter and easier to do. We have also obtained clinical acceptance. During the cadaver test, the interventional radiologists who saw the images and saw Sono-Sheath said they were significantly more confident taking a biopsy with Sono-Sheath than without. And of course, that helps, giving the clinician confidence, again, makes the procedure safer and more accurate. It's an excellent product market fit. Ultrasound market is expanding quickly. There's lots of new users and applications. Biopsies are not only done by interventional radiologists, they're also done by urologists, gastroenterologists, and other clinicians who are less familiar with ultrasound. So anything we can do to help them out and to promote the use of ultrasound to make it safer, obviously helps them and helps the patient as well. It fits very well into a kit. It's an ideal product to add to a biopsy kit as an add-on, so they can have a kit without and a kit with, and then you can, it's a way to increase the cost or the price of a kit without having to do something complicated. There's a high market and sales potential. I mean, there's a large number of biopsy procedures years, plus more than 10 million per year worldwide. There's limited competition. Sono-Sheath is the only echogenic sheath on the market, and it clearly outperforms all other echogenic technologies that are out there. And it's a true innovation. It's not that we're trying to sell or create a new biopsy needle. We're creating a new market segment of echogenic disposable add-ons. It's a whole new market segment. As a business opportunity, obviously, there are significant numbers of biopsies every year. This is the number of biopsies increasing from 2020 to 2031, soft tissue biopsies, and you can see that it increases by 33%. This is driven by, of course, aging population, a strong increase in cancer patients, and the increase in soft tissue biopsies to confirm diagnosis. I think it's important to point out that this is the number of diagnosed incidences of cancer as described by the WHO. This is catalogued by WHO and the World Health Organization. But only 30% of people who have a biopsy are diagnosed with cancer. So there's probably 3 times as many needles used than there are people diagnosed with cancer. So we're not only developing Sono-Sheath for biopsies, which will, as I said, we will be filing Q4 for the biopsy model this year, and we intend to launch Q1 in 2023. We're also working with a top 3 US clinic on a version for brachytherapy, so radiation treatment for prostate cancer. And again, we intend to file that in Q2 2023 and launch in Q3 2023, and Sono-Sheath vascular access the same, CE filing in Q2, launch Q4. This one's a little bit later because obviously you're in the vascular access system, so the regulatory process is a bit more challenging. So Sono-Sheath, a quick summary. It's a unique instant ultrasound visibility solution for any biopsy, brachytherapy, or vascular access needle. And again, in none of these markets are we launching I would say, competitive device. It's a new device and creating new market segments. It's an easy sell as a business opportunity. It sells itself. Do you want to improve ultrasound visibility? Do you want to make your life easier? Then please use this. It addresses a clear unmet clinical need in multiple high volume, high value market segments. We visit lots and lots of clinicians and lots of conferences. We've talked about 650, probably even now 1,000 clinicians at things like this SAR, and every single one of them says, I would like to see the needle better. And this is an easy way for them to be able to have what they want without having to change their biopsy needle. And of course, as my previous presenter said, we're looking for partners interested in the commercialization of Sono-Sheath throughout Europe at this point. So I think that's everything I would like to say there. Please, if there are any questions, feel free to ask them.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lee, for the very interesting presentation. The floor is yours, guys, to ask questions. I have a few, so I'm just give the floor to you before I ask mine.
Hi, this is Pascal from France. I have 2 questions, please. Hi, everyone. First questions, what is the diameter of the sheath?
The diameter of the sheath obviously depends on the diameter of the needle, but it does take it up probably a gauge. So if you're using an 18 gauge needle, the diameter of the sheath is around 17 gauge.
Okay, does it work for, that goes to my next question, does it work for microwave ablation electrodes or radiofrequency ablation electrodes or for electroporation needles?
This won't work for electroporation because it acts as a non-conductor. So, and it's not suitable for microwave and thermal ablation because it's a polymer sheath, so it will have some problems with temperature stability. However, that's where our coating technology comes in. So if people are interested in having microwave ablation probes or radiofrequency ablation probes more ultrasound visible, we can always apply directly our coating to that probe. And we have done that before with other products, with these type of products. So we're very familiar with that.
But for electroporation, it would work.
Yes, it should, as long as you have to. So I know if you talk about an electroporation device, you have actually an outer sheath on there. You could just replace the outer sheath with our sheath, yeah, and then extend the needle out. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Lee, I had also two questions, maybe twofold questions. What are the markets you're looking for with regards to the distribution? That's one. Second, where are you currently presented? And also maybe a third question then, are you, as I understand it correctly, creating a new segment, or is it like a part of already some therapeutic area portfolio?
That is an excellent question. I will start with the middle one first. We are not currently represented anywhere. We represent ourselves in the Netherlands, and we are looking for partners basically throughout Europe and in the US. So France, Spain, Italy, Germany, please reach out to us. We'd happily talk. Even in the Netherlands, we're willing to talk as well. And the final question, sorry, what was the last question again?
Last question was if you are creating a new segment, as I understand correctly, or if it's already a part of some therapeutic area.
That's a very interesting question. I don't know how to properly answer that, I suppose. It is a new segment within current therapeutic areas. So it is, I would say it's a new market segment within the biopsy area, echogenic disposables. So it is a new market segment over multiple areas, depending on how you look at it. So a new market of echogenic disposable, market area of echogenic disposables for biopsy, brachytherapy, and vascular access.
What a brilliant answer. Thank you very much, Lee.
Lee, I have just a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, putting aside the reintervention costs, which can be substantial, if you look only at the direct cost when you're adding a Sono sheet to a basic biopsy needle, are we talking like a marginal increase in direct costs or a substantial one per intervention?
You are not. That's an interesting question. It depends on anchor. In comparison to the 3 hours of the patient, you are not adding a cost of something where you don't have a problem with ultrasound visibility. You are only adding I would call it a cost when you do have a problem. The doctor's only taking it at a certain point. So you are. So you're actually saving costs again. Every time that you're using it, you're making the procedure faster and quicker. So you're saving costs all the way through. On the other hand, the final cost of the device is not yet utterly fixed. That's something that we're still looking into, and we should be discussing at a later date. But you're not adding, it's not that you're adding a €10,000 cost to the whole procedure. No.
Right. Thank you.
May I ask another question, please?
Sure.
Is this product a unique product, or do you have other competitors in the field, please?
The sheath itself is a unique product. There are no other ultrasound visible sheaths. There are other methods for making needles ultrasound visible, but they are much less good. So you can talk about laser dimpling, you can talk about etching, sandblasting, but they do not provide the same level of visibility as Sono sheath. And then, of course, if you want to add ultrasound visibility to a needle range, you have to add it per individual needle. You'd have to take your semi-automatic, your full automatic, your reusable needles. The whole product line would have to go through the whole MDR again. And with Sono sheath, we've taken care of that. So you can add ultrasound visibility without increasing the cost of the basic biopsy needle and without having the regulatory burden that implies.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
All right, guys, we have still room for a few more questions if you guys have. In case I also have one more question, Lee. What's the story behind the product? Like as you mentioned, that it's like an entirely new segment in one specific therapeutic area. So what's the story, how it was created, and what was the reason to launch an entirely new segment?
I think that very much relates to the previous question. We're selling the coating, and we work for a lot of large medical device manufacturing companies, but we talk to a lot of biopsy companies. And the biggest hurdle we faced of getting it into biopsy needles was the fact that each and every needle would have to re-go through the MDR. So if you had your semi-automatic, as I said, your 18 gauge, your 20 gauge, your 20 centimeter, you had your fully automatic, you had your reusable, and the biopsy needle manufacturers were extremely interested. They wanted the improved ultrasound visibility, but to put it on every needle for them was a huge challenge. So we came up with this idea of saying, okay, look, let's make something which just goes straight over the needle. It's manufacturer independent. It grips to the needle itself. It doesn't connect to the hub, and provides the same level of ultrasound visibility. And it gives you a nice way to not increase the cost of a biopsy needle, not to have to go through this MDR hurdle every time, but to have a whole new product and actually having, let me be blunt, sell something else to the doctor as well.
Right, absolutely.